Good morning, everyone. We will begin shortly. Can I please welcome you to come on in, move to the front, and fill up the seats in front, as many of you have already done. But for those of you who are still walking in, please do sit towards the front, and then we can kick off today's programming shortly. Thank you. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, esteemed dignitaries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Good morning and a warm welcome to the third and final day of the AVPN Global Conference 2024, delivered in partnership with the United Arab Emirates Presidential Court's International Humanitarian and Philanthropic Council. We extend our deepest gratitude for the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Tayyab bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. Please allow me to introduce myself. I am Sangeeta, and I'm part of the Knowledge and Insights team at AVPN. It's an honor to be serving as your MC today. At the heart of AVPN's mission is collaboration, a driving force behind unlocking more capital towards impact. Through our efforts in fostering partnerships, I've witnessed firsthand the transformative power that knowledge sharing holds in driving positive change. In the spirit of collaboration, I would like to thank the International Humanitarian and Philanthropic Council, Reaching the Last Mile, Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan Foundation, Zayed Charitable and Humanitarian Foundation, and all of our partners for making this conference possible. Before we dive into the rich agenda we have planned for today, I have a special treat in store for you all. We are about to experience the power of the desert right here in the St. Regis Ballroom. Join me in welcoming Alina as she brings to life stories in her ever-shifting landscapes, evoking emotions that transcend the boundaries of time and space. Alina, the stage is yours. I think we fixed that now. Just give us a moment. What is the start of the day without some technical glitches? Thank you for bearing with us. Alina's got a wonderful show prepared. That's perfectly okay. I think we will shift the agenda around just a little bit. And I'm actually really, really excited to share with you a few highlights from the last couple of days. They have flashed by, but I think it'll be nice to revisit that really quickly. So here are some highlights. Honestly, one of my favorite parts of the day, and what a wonderful way to start it. What an incredible journey we've embarked on the last couple of days, exploring a diverse range of topics, engaging in thought-provoking discussions, from coming together as one Asia to address shared challenges, climate change, health inequities, recognizing the profound influence of values and beliefs in Asian philanthropy. So much that we have touched on. I would love to now introduce AVPN's very own Christina Amel. As conference director, Christina's leadership and dedication has been instrumental in shaping this event. Christina, may I invite you on stage to share your reflections and some highlights from the last 3 days with us.
Hello, everyone. Your Highness, Your Excellencies, honored dignitaries, esteemed delegates, and fellow champions of change. As we conclude the AVPN Global Conference 2024 in Abu Dhabi, delivered in partnership with the United Arab Emirates, Presidential Court's International Humanitarian and Philanthropic Council, under the esteemed patronage of His Highness Sheikh Tia bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, I am filled with overwhelming gratitude and pride as I reflect on the remarkable journey we have had so far. My name is Christina Amel, and it has been an honor to serve as this year's conference director, overseeing our most inclusive conference to date, bridging North, East, South, and West Asia. This achievement stands as a testament to the collaborative efforts of many, to the most dedicated and amazing AVPN team, to our main partner, the United Arab Emirates International Humanitarian and Philanthropic Council, our host partners reaching the last mile, Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan Foundation and Zayed Charitable and Humanitarian Foundation, to all our conference sponsors, partners, and speakers, and to the incredible crew from the event organizers, photographers, videographers, ushers, and volunteers. 2 more points here. Along with the team at both St. Regis Saadiyat Island Resort and Park Hyatt Abu Dhabi Hotel and Villas, and many others who have contributed tirelessly to make this conference a success. They have put passion and energy into this conference, so please put your hands together with passion and big round of applause. These past few days have been brimming with inspiring dialogues, groundbreaking initiatives, and invaluable connections. In fact, this year we welcomed over 1,500 delegates from 46 markets. We have heard from close to 250 speakers across 90 sessions and made infinite number of connections in person and through our conference app, a favorite tool of all of yours. Together, friendships have been forged, reinforced, and deepened during this conference. And of course, thank you to all of you for being part of this conference and for your contribution in the ecosystem. With that, I want to remind us all of this sentence. There is an I in impact. It starts with oneself and ripples into others. With that, please bear with me with one activity, and those that were with us in Bali 2 years, it might remind you of a similar activity. So listen to these instructions. Are you listening? Turn to your neighbors. Please reach out, shake their hands, and please say these words. Thank you for your impact. Go ahead. Thank you for your impact. Thank you for your impact. Thank you again to you all for your impact. In Abu Dhabi, we have all come together in a spirit of inclusivity and shared purpose. The theme, One Asia, One Future, sums up our commitment to bring together representation from diverse backgrounds, perspectives, and geographies. Collaboration is a cornerstone of our work. Let me say that again. Collaboration is the cornerstone of our work. We believe in the power of networks to drive change. From discussing how values and beliefs drive impact in Asia, to the launch of Impact Collab, Asia's first outcomes-based social investing system, and yesterday, we also had our second dedicated Impact Investing Day. Throughout our time together, we have learned from some of the brightest minds, boldest leaders, and most passionate change makers. While today is the last day of the conference, we still have time together. This morning's plenary, we will discuss youth mental well-being and nurturing tomorrow's leaders. Not only that, this afternoon we will deep dive with workshops on a variety of topics and approaches for you to take part in, such as women's economic empowerment, climate and health, and impact measurement and management. So let me send you off with these last words. As mentioned in the beginning of the conference, let's leave this room ready to build a future where one Asia means one future. And again, thank you to you all for your impact.
Thank you, Christina. One clear message really resonates with me. There's truly an I in impact, and that's a pretty hard one for me to say and wrap my mind around, but that is so important to recognize. The day ahead promises to be one that can only deepen this sentiment. We're just going to clear the table really quickly, and I think we'll be getting ready for our first panel of the day. So let's just give a couple of seconds for the stage to be set up. Thank you for your patience. I know I said we were going to have a panel, but it does look like we might have the performance after all. So let's try that one more time. And Alina, over to you again. We look forward to seeing what you have in store for us. There she is. Let's give her a round of applause. I think that was worth the wait. Don't you think so? Let's give her another round of applause. Thank you, Alina, for adding a touch of magic to our morning. The beauty of sand art truly lies in the ability to transform humble grains of sand. So very much resonating with what Christina shared with us about each one of us having a part to play in each small action, contributing to this bigger picture. So thank you, really. Just as we're waiting for the stage to clear up, I'm just really grateful for that performance as well, because I was just sharing with a colleague, I didn't get a chance to see the falcons the last couple of days. She brought us falcons, she brought us camels, the whole desert. Really grateful for that. Thanks again, Alina. So just a couple of minutes, and I think we can get our panel on stage. On that note, now that we've gotten the stage sandless, it's my pleasure to introduce our first panel discussion, a clarion call, taking bold steps to drive real impact. Our esteemed panelists are poised to share their insights on collaboration, innovation, risk-taking, and entrepreneurship, offering invaluable lessons from their own journeys of impact. Please let me introduce our moderator, Ms. Oriel Morrison, Chief Strategy Officer of APAC Network, and our trailblazing speakers, Her Excellency Salama Al-Amimi, Director General, Ma'an. Ms. Kitty Boo, Vice President of Asia, Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. Mr. Rahul Chowdhury, Managing Partner and CEO of CG Corp Global. And last but not least, Mr. Vakran Bhargava, Founder and Trustee of Vedas Foundation and Chairperson of the Founders Pledge. Speakers, the stage is yours.
It's such a pleasure to be back here with you all today, and I just wanted to ask for another round of applause for Elena. That was absolutely breathtaking. And actually, I miss the Falcons too, so I also appreciate that. Welcome, esteemed panel. It's so wonderful to have you all here. I think today's a really important day. I know from the AVPN team that the last couple of days have been absolutely incredible, and they've had a lot of success, and I know from conversations with some of you out there, some of the attendees, that they've all been absolutely blown away by the last couple of days. This day is really important. It's a culmination, I think, of everything that's been discussed over the last couple of days. And I think the title of our panel today, which is Taking Bold Steps to Drive Real Action, is exactly what we want to discuss this morning. Now, I want to come straight to the point here with this panel today and ask you, what are the bold steps that are being taken that you're seeing in each of your worlds today? What does that mean to you? Your Excellency, let me start with you.
Is it working? Yeah. So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. I think what is happening here on the last 2 days is absolutely amazing, and it's in line with the DNA of our organization, which is the Social Contribution Authority. I believe we've spoke a lot about creating an impact and having that impact on our communities. And I believe if you don't talk about the positive stories as much as the negative stories, you would not know how to mitigate those risks that could affect the progress and your impact. From our side, I believe one twist that has been done, and I believe it's very much personalized to Abu Dhabi in particular, that we changed the thinking from, helping others and giving to social development, and that made the West relevant to everyone. As you know, here in Abu Dhabi, we are around 200 nationalities. And for you to talk about charities, charity differ from nationality to nationality and background. So when we linked it to the social development, I think everyone felt included and inclusive in order to participate on that social development as well.
It's when we had a discussion a couple of days ago, Your Excellency, you were also talking about the importance of bringing in every party to the table and that you are doing things differently.
So we spoke a lot about what could help those activities and initiatives and efforts done by almost everyone. Like everyone have good on them and everyone wants to help. But unless you have that in a structured manner that could basically align those activities and efforts in order to create that impact, it would be good but random good. It would not create the impact that you wanted. In Abu Dhabi in particular, I believe what made our job easier, we had a discussion yesterday with the team, is that the government is enabling that activity. The government wants to see the community participating and creating that cohesive society altogether. And that's why they've created MAN. And unless you have a structural support from the government, those efforts will take longer to create that impact. And I believe having those structural policies, public policies that would support the activities would very much accelerate the impact on the community.
Rahul, let me bring you in to the conversation here. You and I had quite a similar discussion just yesterday about the importance of bringing government in with your philanthropic work. Do you feel that for you in a developing country, it is harder or easier to get those things done? And I go back to the title, Taking Bold Steps.
Now, thank you so much, Oriel. First of all, I'd like to thank Nenaji and AVPN for having us here. Just a little bit about the Chaudhary Foundation, if I may. Chaudhary Foundation was set up by the Chaudhary family, and we are based out of Nepal and doing our fair bit there itself. The few areas, if I may just speak a little bit, if I may, Oriel, that we focus on is health, climate, women empowerment, disaster management, and response. And touching upon all these areas to answer your question now, in a developing country like Nepal, there are always challenges from the perspective that, my father always says that we can only build one home, but together with the state, you can build millions of homes. And in a country where there is always uncertainty when it comes to leadership, governance, of course, bringing about the established and organizations like many of yours here is always a challenge, because the first thing that comes to mind is if they are bringing any support or any funding or any donation or any expertise, does it get to the right hands or not? And it's a challenge, no doubt, but all my compliments to AVPN that the past 2 days, I literally have met so many people who are doing so much work in Nepal, and I had no idea, even though we've been there for almost 2 decades now, and to see the wonderful work like One Heart is doing, the Kaduri Foundation they are doing, and it's amazing, and this is what brings the collaboration together, and they all are working with governments, they're working with local municipalities, and as we are. So obviously, my thought before I came here that we are working in a very, very difficult environment without too much support from the government is not necessarily true, because they've been there, they are creating great impact, and we are in discussions to do much more together with them, with the government agencies.
Well, congratulations on all that you are doing. Rahul. Kitty, let me bring you into the conversation. You've had experience across such a broad range of sectors. What to you does bold impact mean? When you look at all of your experiences, what does being bold mean?
I've taken some bold steps in my own life. Like you, started as a journalist, had my own media company, sold it, went into energy, then got very interested in the other system transition, which is food and agri. So joined a Silicon Valley-backed startup looking at market entry across Asia for impossible foods. And now I'm back at energy at a philanthropic organization called Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. I can get into what we do a little bit, but as you can see in our name, is global, is focused on energy. We care about people, the just peace, as well as the energy prosperity across the global south in particular. So looking across the different choices, the bold choices I've taken in my life, I think we are at a place where we're dealing with an unprecedented challenge. All of us, everyone in this room, this is something very new. And when you're dealing with a challenge like this, what is first and foremost very important is innovation. And we're talking about innovation around policy, innovation around the way we finance, innovation around the way we build our business model, and the way that we collaborate. And under this sort of big backdrop, there are a couple of things I want to say in terms of taking big steps. One is, if you look across, every year, there are roughly about $800 billion from philanthropy giving worldwide. Currently, let's say last year, less than 2% of that goes into climate. However, traditionally, when we're doing the philanthropic giving, whether it's disaster alleviation, poverty alleviation, health, education, under the big climate backdrop, this is all converging into one big issue, which is under the climate kind of umbrella. I think taking bold step means we're going to have to start working with each other, alliancing with each other, working and knowing how to organize ourselves as an ecosystem in a much more closer and more well-coordinated way going forward. And I think the second thing is the unprecedented challenge, but also a great opportunity it presents to this community, in the sense that we used to talk about public and private partnership, and now it's all about public-private philanthropy, the so-called 3P partnership. It's a great opportunity for philanthropists to continue doing the wonderful, great work that we all have been doing. However, as the sort of financing gap for the energy system transition, food and agri-system transition emerge, as the daunting challenge of us having to scale the way we finance by 5, 6, 10 times until 2030 for all of the countries to be able to meet with the national determined contribution targets, we're going to have to start thinking, utilizing different ways to bridge that gap. Not just knowledge gap, not just technical assistance, but all around financing. And one thing emerging is blended finance. So in terms of Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, we've been doing a lot of experimentation around what would that bold steps mean. So our money that can be used as grants, returnable grants, could be used as guaranteed debt or equity, has been testing with different energy projects, doing direct financing, de-risking projects, so the right risks are taken, but then the projects can't really come online. We've also built a blended finance platform with Singapore's central bank and also Singapore's sovereign wealth fund, Temasek. It's a $2 billion blended finance platform that's focused on energy transition in the region. I'm going to stop here.
Well, I was actually waiting for the rest of it. So to tell us a little bit more about this innovation, because this is bold steps, exactly what you're talking about.
This is definitely not a GAP invention. This is definitely a community effort. It's an ecosystem approach. Maybe one thing just to add on what I said is that taking bold steps means we're making mistakes. Taking bold steps, taking risks means we will have to withstand the public eye, comments, feedback, and also be very willing to share not only the things that we've done right, but also the things that's mistakes we've made. So just kind of as a caveat of what innovation really means.
Vikrant, I want to bring you into the conversation here. And I think, we are talking about taking bold steps, and from your perspective, I'm sure you can talk to a lot of what Kitty's just been discussing. But I know from your perspective, you believe that bold steps do need to be taken because there's not enough. We are here at the AVPN conference. People are here from all over the world, from Asia, from Europe, from absolutely everywhere in the world. I think that we have over the course of the last couple of days, and you are concerned about the level of collaboration that we're seeing.
Sorry. Yeah. If the problems are large, the solutions have to be different. So, and I guess it goes without saying, bold steps need to be taken if we're dealing with anything that is large. Where philanthropy comes in, it usually comes in to fix something where the system may have failed, where governments may not have been able to do and meet sort of the requirements that should have been met. So I would say we're sitting in the UAE where over the last 50 years, the country's been transformed. So in the UAE, if we were to look at it, the need for philanthropy to be applied within the country is a lot less than in countries where, despite having great resources and so on, people have not managed them well. So I grew up in India where the system failed its people for many, many years. So I'll start off first with the bold stuff that I have seen, we're seeing in India currently. 15 years ago, 10 to 15 years ago when we started on this journey, when I started on this journey, wanting to do something at scale, I wouldn't have thought we'd be working with the government, but I was very clear on scale. So the boldest thing I've seen is the openness of the bureaucracy in India to actually work with people like us. They're very open, and when you meet with them, you realize that they actually care about change. They just don't have the resources, not financial, but human resources, to actually deal with it. So what people here can bring to the table is working with very receptive, and I would say bold people within public policy who actually are willing to listen. So that's been our focus, and there's no way I would have listed that in 15 things if I was to list we'd be doing, that policy and working with policymakers would be high up. That's sort of the only thing we do in India. I would say that can be applied across the region, across Southeast Asia. In the US, I wear a different hat as well. I chair an organization called Founders Pledge. And there you see, we run funds, and there people get together to solve problems at scale. So you'll often have people sort of giving up control and letting a professional run something. So more recently, we got a large grant. I think I can disclose it because it originally was anonymous. So we got over $40 million that just arrived into the climate fund, unannounced, and it was a gift. So we still don't quite know the ultimate benefactor, the person who had actually sent the gift, but it came in through a US staff. So there are people taking very bold steps to the point, writing very large checks to professionals to deal with solutions that face all of us, wherever in the world we are.
Congratulations. That would have been an incredible gift to receive.
It was fantastic, and I think the team was overjoyed, and it's a testament to how the team's actually built itself up over the last 10 years.
So Vikrant, let me come back to the question that I put to you before, and this is your concerns about collaboration across this particular region, and I feel like we do need to discuss this today, because when you talk to people about how we solve these critical problems of today, it is collaboration. And your concerns do need to be discussed, that there is not enough here in Asia.
So I wouldn't say there isn't enough, particularly here. When we are at a different stage in the journey of getting to work together. Philanthropy is just starting off in a slightly different manner in Asia. So countries in the West that have been rich for centuries have a history of giving, and they have been comfortable. Again, there is a lot of local giving that happens, but I guess once you get to a scale where you don't have to worry about yourself, your family, your community, you can then start to think about people further out. In the countries in the region, it's first generation money forms a very large portion. So step one is you deal with yourself, your family. You then start to think about your community, and it's people who have built businesses, who believe they have the answers to solutions. So for them, and trust is an issue in general across the region. So to collaborate between, call it single family foundations, I think we talk a lot. It does not happen as much as it should. And I would say it's more because egos come in. If I was to borrow something Pritha from Britspan mentioned yesterday, we've got an ecosystem, but the ecosystem comes in the way of building the ecosystem. So collaboration between families does not happen as much as it should. Can it happen more? I'm sure it can and it will over a period of time. But there is the collaboration that happens with the government here, I think is a different, that's a positive. So that's the positive side, that there is active collaboration working with the government. Her Excellency mentioned sort of the government taking bold steps. I mean, we've heard public and private philanthropic partnerships being mentioned a few times over the last couple of days. So there, it's a positive side. On the private families, the single sort of foundations, people collaborating, you can say that it should be a lot more. I don't think we need to forcibly push people into it. When people start focusing on what they are solving and stop thinking about how they're going to solve it, I think the collaboration will improve. So if your focus is on solution, you're going to try, and if you're willing to optimize for how to solve the problem, collaboration will happen on its own. If you believe you know the answer to the solution and you want to have full agency over the process, then collaboration is going to be a problem.
Your Excellency, you were nodding then, like you agree.
Yes, I wanted actually to elaborate, but wanted to give everyone the chance to talk as well. You know, one of the things that I wanted to encourage is similar forums that would make collaboration comes more impactful and, you know, basically makes it happen. But one thing that I wanted to mention is that we are all here talking or caring about the same values, yet every person of us is sat on a context that is different from other contexts. So the values are the same, but you need to be very much aware of the context that you're living in. And maybe it's unfair to compare MAN, for example, with other NGOs here, because again, MAN was established to build the blocks that will enhance the collaboration. So when we look at MAN mandate, it's beyond the funding. The funding is one major mandate, but there is also the third sector, which maybe you hinted at the three sectors that are very important. In Abu Dhabi, for 5 years, we set a strategy for the third sector. Third sector is contains the social enterprises, NFPs, and civic society. And that by itself is another focus that we are building here in Abu Dhabi. And then moving forward, looking at, you know, basically the volunteering on in a way that it would provide services rather than initiatives. So how can we provide volunteers for a line of service that would, you know, benefit the beneficiary group? So the difference between MAN and other NGOs is that we already brought here by the government to build that system. And again, looking and being sensitive to the system, and here in Abu Dhabi, we are, as you mentioned, the government is, you know, doing a great deal for the community, but it's not that language that we're talking. We're talking about socially responsible. Every single individual is responsible toward the community members. And there where we are trying to ring the bells, it's not about the government is unable to provide, it's about you as an individual needs to participate. So the language is a bit different, and we need to be sensitive to the context that those organizations are operating on.
Yes, they all are all very, very different. I think when we're talking about this type of collaboration, and we're talking about, to your point, the lack in certain families, I think, Rahul, this is probably an opportunity for your foundation to be even bolder. You know, when you're talking about, you mentioned before that there were, you know, sort of people that you've met with over the last couple of days that you weren't even aware were doing business in, or doing work, I should say, in Nepal. Is this something that you can take on board?
Sure. Just also a little bit on the, I would say, since we are a business family, right? Coming from Nepal, we say that we are immune to challenges and change. And you'll see the history of our group, where all we are all across the world. It's pretty much in frontier and emerging markets that have their own inherent challenges as well. But some of the bold steps, if I may speak a little bit about them in Nepal, starting off with health. In the health, let's say, vertical within our foundation, we focus on nutrition. I mean, there's a huge challenge of stunting in Nepal. So we are partners with BMGF, and through a program called Balyo Nepal. Balyo means strong, strong Nepal, and we work with them and the local farmers in terms of addressing the nutrition issues. In health sector as well, we are closely working with the government because there is a huge problem in Nepal when it comes to maternal and prenatal health. So we've started on this program to develop these state-of-art facilities within the government hospitals to address these. Second one is our social business, social impact. So we've tied up with partners like Lions International. And how we are trying to do this is that we also want to bring in that value of responsibility and money being well spent. Now, what do I mean by that? Just an example. We partnered with a company called Anthropos that makes these glasses. And what it does is that for every 5 glasses you buy, one person gets their eyesight. So it goes a long way when it comes to impact aspects, also from the perspective of impact from other businesses. We've invested together with Lions International in 30 different other impactful businesses. One of them is our initiative along the Dolpo Trek. I'm sure many of you have been to Nepal, or if you haven't, you are welcome. We have some beautiful treks in Nepal, and Dolpo Trek is one of them. I mean, you have so many people going there, but you didn't have the basic facilities of staying. So what we did is that we went in there. We are into hospitality ourselves. We went in there. We gave them the funds. We trained them. We got employment opportunities affected in those areas. And now what we did is a unique system. What we did is that we gave them the monies through the banking channel. And not because of charging them a high interest or anything, but it brings about responsibility with them in terms of entrepreneurship as well. Another vertical is our women empowerment and livelihood programs, and that is led by my beautiful wife who's sitting there, Surbi. She heads this program, and it is a platform, which came into light at the time of the earthquake. And during the earthquake, many people lost their livelihoods, they lost their homes, and this is where we decided that we need to work with women and the entire community because they are the ones who manufacture your arts, crafts, textile. And through our platform, we take it all over the world so that they have an opportunity to showcase what they are doing and to create an impact for them from a livelihood perspective as well. And one last, although we do climate, we focus on climate change as well, but disaster management is an important area for us as well. Again, touching upon the earthquake time when they all lost their homes, what we did is we partnered with the government as well as with the locals. And we would bring in, let's say, 60% of the funding, 20% would be brought in by the government, and 20% would come in by the locals, so that they themselves feel empowered, they feel that they've taken responsibility, and they bring in, and we help them set up brick kilns so that they could manufacture brick, they could use sustainable materials like bamboo, thatch, so on and so forth. So our foundation likes to work with communities in uplifting them, work with them in terms of incubating them, in terms of training them. So it's not only about giving them money, but to make sure that it is impactful in the most benevolent way possible.
Congratulations on all of that, Rahul. That absolutely sounds incredible. But the point that you're making, and I think that we really need to raise up here, is this shifting of responsibility, which is something Your Excellency has referred to as well. Now, how does that relate to the shifting of risk in the banking system? Kitty, you talked about blended finance and some innovation that you're seeing there. Does the risk need to be taken by a different party? Do philanthropic organisations, NGOs, need to take on more risk and be followed by the governments as opposed to the other way around?
The answer is yes and no. Yes, in the sense that we're going through a system transition. And when we're planning the system transition, something has to move first. The first movers hopefully will have a ripple effect and bring other people along in the journey in order to ignite change in a much more systematic and large-scale kind of manner. So who are the risk takers? I do see everybody in this room, whether you are deploying capital or allocating capital, have the highest level of risk-taking ability. In terms of blended finance, it's not a silver bullet, but it would allow the most risk-tolerant capital to come into the capital stack in order to de-risk certain projects when appropriate, when it's necessary and when it sets the right market precedents and sends the right signal. Now, with a caveat to that, it doesn't mean that once we're the risk taker, we will always be the risk taker. I think what we aspire to do as a community is to work ourselves out of the job when we're doing blended finance. Who might be the next risk taker? I think a lot of what we're trying to do is we're the trailblazers. That's how I see our community. When we create market, when we create business model, when we create the first mover project in the market, seeing is believing, we would be hoping that the market conditions created would allow us to hand over further projects and investments into the market.
Vikrant, this is also something that you're very focused on as well. This, I suppose, this shifting of risk when it comes to funding some of these projects.
So I'd want to add to what Kitty said, or I'd say echo it. Philanthropic organizations can take a lot more risk. Governments tend to be risk averse. Foundations, organizations, individuals who have made their money through risk taking on business side, there's no reason why they should suddenly become risk averse when it comes to looking for bold, drastically new solutions when it comes to solving problems. So people tend to sort of have a very different, have two different brains, one when they're making money and one when they're doing something on the public side. If they were to use their business brain when they're also trying to solve problems, I think we'd be much better off. So philanthropy can take a lot more risks. And if you don't fail in what you do, then you clearly are not doing things properly. But if you have a few failures, you're likely to have a few huge successes, which if you are then able to scale up by taking to the government and helping them come in at that stage when it becomes slightly less risky, I think it works beautifully well for both. And I would just urge everybody here to take more risks in their philanthropic activities.
Kitty.
If I may just add very quickly, may I point out that AVPN, having a very large-scale conference, bringing all the eco players together, partners from all around the world, having an event at such scale in such an important location is the beginning of a bold step. I think we're trying to bring all the people together. We're trying to build the ecosystem. We're fostering learning, engaging, and getting to know each other. Building from here, I have every confidence that moving forward, we're going to start fostering partnerships. Therefore, we are embarking on the journey of what's said here about One Asia and One Future. It's my first time here. I'm very, very excited about being here this time. Thank you, Naina and others, for the opportunity. And I hope for many more visits back to this part of the world and really kind of be the practitioner of One Asia and One Future.
Kitty, thank you. Now, can I ask everybody out there in the audience, do you believe that philanthropic organizations, do you believe that NGOs should be taking more risk? Let's see. That's not overwhelming. That's not overwhelming. Think about it, maybe. Only a handful. Does that surprise you? Please, anybody on the panel?
To be honest, no.
Is this part of the problem?
Well, first of all, I would go back and just elaborate on what Kitty is saying. We're here to learn from each other, not only the collaboration, but the tools that are used. And I believe people would follow you if you looked structured, if you're focused, if you can demonstrate confidence, whether it's a government or NGOs or private sector. So one of the tools that has been already introduced or launched yesterday is the social contracting, where it put the risk on the more on the social investor or on the, here in Abu Dhabi specifically on the CSR coming from the private sector in particular or the high net worth individuals. And unless you come to that specific, way of solution, people will always hesitate and be scared to take a risk. And you need to, as much as possible, make people feel confident. And if there is any loss or a risk of, losing, it's going to be controlled and minimal. Otherwise, again, I'll go back and say, we are led by passion, and we shouldn't always follow passion because this is a real business. It's not about a charity, it's not about sadaqah or zakah as we have it in our religion. We need to evolve on what the new world is talking about and try to reflect the soul of those giving practices that we have in our communities to look like a business setup, and there where people would trust and come from all over the world. Otherwise, people will be very hesitant to take the risk.
And I think that word trust is incredibly important in terms of what we're discussing today. Now, we're talking about helping the people in this room become bolder. So what I want to do is, we don't have a lot of time left. So what I want to do from each and every one of you is ask you to give the people in this room one thing that they can do to help them have more impact, to help them take those bold steps. Vikran, let me start with you.
Focus on what problem you're trying to solve. Think through whether the problem has to be large. Problems are large. So are you going after the real problem, or are you going after one of the many sort of small things that lead to it? So make sure you're solving the problem. Be prepared to be surprised and shocked if the numbers don't support, so follow the numbers, follow the evidence. So data and evidence in making up your mind, making decisions along the way while you solve a large problem is what would be great if everybody was to do it.
Okay, thank you, Vikrant. Your Excellency?
I'll just echo what he says, focus and be structured. I noticed working with this third sector here in the Arab world, they are overwhelmed with, they want to do good and they're not focused. So you will find people who are talking about, women empowerment, and then talking about, environment, and you just want them to be focused and be excellent in that thing. Your impact will be higher if you're focused and structured.
Okay, thank you, Your Excellency. Rahul?
Yeah, I believe that, every impact starts with an idea. So first, of course, you have to think about the idea that is going to create the biggest impact, and the impact has to be assessed by way of what is the need. I'm talking about from a Nepal perspective, and then one has to make a beginning. I mean, if you just wait for other parties to come together with you to make an impact or make a beginning, it's never going to happen. And thereafter, once you make the beginning, to create any big impact has to have the joint collaboration of all parties involved, whether it is from your locals to your center to other parties involved. And moment people start seeing the impact that is being generated by your steps taken, I can tell you that people are going to follow. And that's how you're going to have the international community also coming in and working towards the cause which you are undertaking in the country.
Okay, Rahul, thank you. Kitty?
Taking risk doesn't mean being reckless. There's a real difference between taking reckless risks as well as being creative and innovative when it comes to problem solving. GAP is only 2 years old. We are co-created by Bezos Earth Fund, IKEA, and Rockefeller. Surviving is a very real risk. Most startups, 90% would die by now. So getting up in the morning, I ask and encourage everyone to think, are we content with the things are the way they are? Are we trying to work towards the status quo, or are we trying to look around and see what can be done and hasn't been done yet?
Which brings it back to the focus, doesn't it? I think that's certainly been echoed by all of you today. Now, one other point I wanted to make before we wrap up today is a few of you have mentioned failure and the need to fail before you succeed. And to your point, Kitty, a lot of the startups, of course, fail before, a lot of entrepreneurs fail before they succeed. That's a scary thought for many out there. Nobody wants to fail. How do you get past that fear?
Learn from it and carry on. Right? I guess in terms of you will fail, and in business, right, people keep trying things, and there will be projects, there'll be tests that you do that don't work. So you don't sit and brood over those. You just learn, and you don't make the mistake a second time.
Rahul?
I think the biggest learning from our perspective has been towards sustainability. I mean, when you make what we did is when we started off almost 2 decades back, you know what we would let's say, I mean, just give you a small example. Again, I go back to the earthquake situation, right? And the moment the earthquake happened, our own family members mobilized to go and give the food supplies. And you know, we took food supplies and we took also tents with us. But you'll be surprised to know that anyone we went to, rather than the food, they would take the tents. And why would they do that? And now that you think about it, it's because they themselves are thinking that with this food that you're giving me right now, it'll help me survive for probably 2 more meals. But with the tent, I'll be able to survive for a much longer time. So that has been the biggest learning, I would say, from our perspective, that wherever we decide to focus, wherever we decide to collaborate, how do we make sure that those efforts are sustainable in the long run, and there is going to be longevity with the initiative and the impact that we do. So it's obviously been a very big learning for us, lots of failures, but I think we are the wiser now.
Your Excellency, you wanted to mention something?
Yes, actually, you know, what delayed, I would say, our success, I'm not gonna call it failure, but what delayed our success is basically looking very much, because we are, again, 5 years old as an organization. So when you establish a new organization, your focus is to build the capabilities of the organization internally, and you tend to forget the value chain of activities that would support your business. So I think our collaboration with the AVPN is coming from that perspective. Like, if this is where your activities stops, you need to find someone who's going to carry your activities to the next stage, and that's how the impact happens. So what delayed us a bit is focused on building our internal capabilities rather than looking, you know, around us on the ecosystem. Which organization should we collaborate with in order to create that impact?
Kitty?
I would say normalize failure, recognizing that's part of what we're trying to do. What we're built to do is to experience failure, to share the learning, to be able to do better. Normalize success. We're not here to bring 25% return on our investment or to go to the next quarterly meeting to have a big reward giving back to us. We're here to work for long-term success. We're here to work for the next generations and not quarter by quarter, year by year. I think when people are really, you know, sitting in a difficult place, as I'm sure many of you experienced that when you wake up one morning thinking, what have I achieved so far? I would say look for leaders in the community, reach out to each other, and then find strength.
Thank you so much. What a very profound and perfect point to end this conversation. Vikrant, Your Excellency, Rahul, Kitty, thank you so much for chatting to us here on stage at the AVPN conference here in Abu Dhabi. Can I please get a round of applause for our fabulous, fabulous panel today?
Thank you.
Thank you to our esteemed panelists for an engaging and thought-provoking discussion. I've learned quite a lot about what taking bold steps is and is not. It is not about being reckless or random. It is about being coordinated, focused, structured, and intentional. It's stories like this that keep me optimistic in the face of urgent needs in the region. Talking about taking bold steps, now let's shine a spotlight on the link between climate change and public health. Climate change has transformed infectious diseases like dengue from a tropical disease to a global public health threat. Moreover, funding support for dengue control and community-based intervention remains limited, especially in the Asia region. To address this issue, AVPN has worked with Takeda since 2023 to highlight the investment opportunity in the mitigation and prevention of diseases caused by climate change. Continuing the efforts, AVPN and Takeda worked on a mini documentary titled Slowing the Spread of Dengue Fever under Healthier Together, A Path to a Better World, developed in consultation with the WHO Foundation and produced for them and their partners by BBC Storyworks Commercial Productions, which we hope will inspire you to consider this public health challenge for investment. Without further ado, we present to you the first official screening of the documentary for Slowing the Spread of Dengue Fever.
Demam berdarah tidak ada obatnya. Ini pertaruhan nih antara hidup dan mati, saya bilang kayak gitu. Di tahun 2015-2016 itu lagi wabah demam berdarah. Fase kritisnya Aska ini lebih memprihatinkan kalau saya bilang, karena dia memang tidak bisa mengeluh sakit, belum bisa yang sakit sebelah sini atau yang panas sebelah sini, karena dia belum bisa terlalu banyak ngomong waktu itu karena dia umurnya masih 3 tahun. Awal mulai yang hutan-hutan kota itu harus tidak sama sekali, jadi kondisinya itu panas dan berdebu. Kenapa juga demam berdarah itu bisa mewabah ke Balikpapan itu ya salah satunya itu tadi kalau menurut hemat saya.
Cities is where the mosquito that transmits dengue virus thrives. Over the last 50 years, dengue has grown from several 100,000 cases to now an estimated 100 million cases every year. By 2080, the projection is that it's going to be 2/3 of the world's population will live at risk of dengue. So this problem, unless we do something about it now, will continue to grow. So I've been working on dengue for the last 25 years, trying to understand the emergence of dengue despite all the efforts in mosquito control. We have to stop thinking that we will one day have a magic bullet. It's a complex problem to solve. Currently, the way of controlling dengue is to reduce the mosquito population, prevent them from breeding. And the way to do that is to remove water containers where mosquitoes can breed. That's why it's so important to ensure that there's good water supply so that people don't have to store water in tanks. But besides tackling dengue at the mosquito level, now there are other ways of dealing with dengue at the human level, and that's vaccine.
Nah, kita selaku sekolah harus menyiapkan terlebih dahulu apa-apa yang supaya anak-anak tidak terkena DBD. Oke, dampaknya dari penyakit DBD itu sendiri memang meresahkan. Karena kita tahu bahwa DBD itu belum ada obatnya yang memang spesial untuk DBD itu sendiri. Tapi sekolah memfasilitasi 2 kali vaksin. Nah, makanya ini nanti akan dipantau dari Dinas Pendidikan. setiap bulannya, mungkin bahkan tahunnya juga akan dipantau seperti apa dengan adanya vaksin DBD ini sendiri.
Balikpapan dipercaya untuk sebagai pilot project pelaksanaan vaksinasi demam berdarah dengue ini.
Mudah-mudahan tahun ini dengan kita ada kegiatan vaksinasi itu bisa menurun ya.
Kami selaku pendidik, kami pasti punya harapan yang besar ya terhadap anak-anak. Pastinya mereka harus sehat, karena generasi penerus itu memang harus sehat kita.
You know, moving forward, we probably have more ways and tools than we had in the past, say even 10 years or so, that perhaps makes me optimistic that we can bring this problem under control. We can actually make a big impact on protecting people from dengue.
Di Balikpapan, jadi suasana kebersamaannya, suasananya asrinya sama itunya sih yang saya benar-benar suka. Harapan saya orang tua itu semua berpikir seperti saya ya.
Continuing the thread of addressing some of Asia's most urgent needs, let's shift our lens to the displaced individuals across Asia. According to UNHCR, there are more than 10.7 million refugees in the Asia-Pacific region who face a myriad of issues, including food insecurity, severe climate shocks, and high economic instability. In response to this humanitarian crisis, AVPN and UNHCR are proud to announce a partnership aimed at exploring innovative finance mechanisms to improve the livelihoods of refugees across Asia. May I invite Matushi Sengupta, Chief of Capital Mobilization at AVPN, on stage to set the context for this partnership.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, today marks a pivotal moment in our journey towards mobilizing capital towards impact and creating a more inclusive and resilient world. I'm really honored to stand before you to announce a very significant partnership between AVPN and the UNHCR in supporting the livelihoods of refugees in Asia. At the heart of our collaboration lies a commitment to intersectionality, recognizing that the challenges faced by refugees are multifaceted and interconnected. Climate change is one such intersectionality. It is not only displacing communities, but is also exacerbating existing vulnerabilities, threatening livelihoods, and deepening gender inequalities within refugee population groups. South Asia, in particular, faces a looming crisis, with projections indicating the displacement of up to 50 million climate refugees annually by 2050. AVPN recognizes the urgent need to build ecosystem partnerships and leverage innovative finance solutions to support affected communities while accelerating global climate action. As a network of influential people and organizations that are deeply committed in creating impact in the lives of many, all of us here, through collaboration, have the opportunity to rewrite the narrative for refugees, to empower them not as victims, but as agents of change and resilience. At AVPN, we hope to drive insights and learnings derived from this partnership and share these back to the ecosystem through our strong communication channels, regional summits, and annual conferences, further amplifying our joint work for wider reach and impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Matushi. And now we would like to extend a warm invitation to Mr. Khalid Khalifa, Senior Advisor and Representative to the Gulf Cooperation Council countries at UNHCR, to join Matushi on stage and say a few words. Mr. Khalid, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Matushi. It's a pleasure to be here. As we gather here today, there are projected 15.6 million people who are forcibly displaced, and some of them are stateless across Asia. They're grappling with the harsh realities of displacement, forced from their homes due to conflict, persecution, and environmental challenges exacerbated by climate change. The plight of refugees is not just a humanitarian issue. It is a complex intersection of crises involving conflict, climate, livelihood, and inequality. In the face of such challenges, it is imperative that we take bold and innovative action to support the resilience and dignity of refugee communities. Through this partnership, which we are very proud of, both AVPN and UNHCR will explore innovative finance models aimed at funding solutions that not only address the immediate needs of refugees, but also empower them to build sustainable livelihoods and thrive in their new environments. Through this partnership, both AVPN and UNHCR will harness the power of continuum of capital to drive positive change, leveraging innovative approaches to tackle these complex challenges head-on. The funding will be channeled to invest in solutions that promote climate resilience, create economic opportunities, and prioritize the unique needs and perspectives of marginalized groups within the refugee communities themselves and host communities, including women and girls. As this work is an iterative process, the partnership is expected to evolve depending on the needs of the program. And we want you to join us in this collaboration to achieve remarkable feats and make a lasting impact on the lives of refugees in Asia and the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Khalifa and Matushi. Now, can I please request Mr. Khalifa and Matushi to please move to the center of the stage. We will now formalize this partnership with an exchange of memoranda of understanding, which was signed earlier today. Thank you, Mr. Khalifa and Matushi. We look forward to seeing the impact that this partnership will have on the lives of refugees across the region. This has already been quite a jam-packed morning, but we will now take a 30-minute break to refresh and refuel. I encourage you to engage with your peers, exchange ideas, make new connections. We'll kick off the late morning plenary at 10:40 a.m. with the session Financing New Ideas and Out-of-the-Box Innovations. So see you all back here in a few. Thank you very much.